So we are going to move forward to our guest speaker for today. We are going to continue celebrating with the instrumental guest speaker I have the pleasure of introducing. Join me in welcoming Stephanie Fuller, Director of Promotions and Economic Development for the Forest Workforce Training Institute, and is responsible for all marketing and promotional efforts of FWTI's brand Forestry Works and the expansion of the Forestry Works programming across the United States. Stephanie is a fourth generation forestry professional growing up in a logging family in East Alabama. You may also recognize Stephanie as the author of the forestry specific children's book series, The Tiny Timber Crew, featuring titles Lucy Meets a Logger and Travis Visits a Tree Farm. We will have a few minutes at the conclusion of her presentation to entertain questions. Please be thinking about questions during the presentation for Stephanie. Stephanie, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank y'all for having me here today. And I'm very excited to see all of y'all and to share with y'all kind of my background and then also the work that we are doing through Forestry Works and the Forest Workforce Training Institute to promote workforce opportunities and professional opportunities to everyone across the United States and hopefully eventually the world. So I am going to share my screen. So really what I mainly wanted to focus on today was the work of the Forest Workforce Training Institute. So as you heard, my background is in the forest products industry, specifically the logging sector. I was fortunate enough to grow up around a family of loggers who were very deeply rooted in sustainable forestry. And that afforded me the opportunity to go to Auburn University as a first generation college student. And having that opportunity that stemmed from the forest industry really sparked the passion to help others pursue opportunities in this amazing industry, and not only industry but this community of people who care for the natural resources that we get to care for and we have the responsibility to be stewards over. There we go. So basically a little bit of background about our organization. The Forest Workforce Training Institute was founded in 2018 as a 501c3 nonprofit. Back in 2018, there was a group of members from the Alabama Forestry Association who came together and said, for our industry, we are concerned about workforce development in the future and where our workers are going to come from, where our professionals are coming from for the next generation of forestry. And so they employed the Alabama Forestry Association to really focus very heavily on workforce development opportunities specific to the forest industry. In that process, we realized that a workforce development organization specifically for forestry was very unique and could be utilized in a lot of various different ways. So in 2018, we became a completely separate 501c3 nonprofit from the Alabama Forestry Association. So we are our own organization, although we are based here in Alabama. And then shortly after the forming of our organization, we formed our kind of got milk brand of Forestry Works. The idea behind the Forestry Works branding is to become a recognizable name that also follows action items for young people or people who are already in their careers and looking to switch into the forest industry, that forestry works for them. Forestry works for you as a person. Forestry works for you as a consumer. Forestry works for you as a professional, a job seeker. Forestry works for your family. Forestry works for your communities. And forestry works for all of us. And so the idea behind that was to really just implement the fact that forestry can provide you with a high-paying, meaningful career for the rest of your life. So obviously our goal through Forestry Works and the Forest Workforce Training Institute is to create a pipeline of qualified workers to sustain the forest industry for generations to come. So the goal is not only to fill open positions right now, but also looking into that long-term future of the forest industry to make sure that we are bringing in people to sustain our industry and continue offering those meaningful careers. The way that we do that is we have various short and long term approaches through education, career promotion, and training. On our education side of our programs, we focus very heavily on the K through 12 student market. Obviously, we believe that sustainable forestry education is forestry workforce development. If we can form these ideas about sustainable forestry early in life, we can then reinforce those ideas later with opportunities for careers and pathways for careers. So these are just a few of the opportunities available through our education sector of Forestry Works. The two that I want to highlight the most are the Tiny Timber Crew series and then our high school forest industry based credentials. So I'll start with our high school forest industry based credentials, which are really, really helpful in creating that pathway for a high school senior to figure out whether they would like to pursue a professional forestry career where they do need a college degree or technical degree and allow them the opportunity to find that route for them, or if there's a student who is not necessarily looking to pursue further education after high school, helping them find employment directly after graduation and giving them the tools and the knowledge in order to help them become more attractive employees to an employer so that they are one step ahead of someone who might not have that working knowledge of the forest industry. That is a really neat program that is expanding. We are in the process of translating that program into Spanish so that we can reach more students. That is a really growing population sector in the state of Alabama. And so we're really excited to offer this curriculum in Spanish to be able to accommodate those students and let them know that we want diverse students in our industry. We want people who are learning English as a second language in our industry, and we want to give them the tools to be successful. The Tiny Timber Crew series, as you may have heard, was a project that I started back in 2020. And the idea behind this project was that we wanted to start the idea of sustainable forestry at a very young age in a very non controversial and really fun experience for students. This was back during a time when we were not able to go into the schools. We were kind of at a halt with forestry education, and we needed a resource that we could send into the homes of our students so that they could continue that sustainable forestry education. So these are just a few photos from some of the classrooms that our members, public officials, and different industry people have gone into the classrooms and submitted photos to us from where they've been able to share this story of sustainable forestry through our children's books. One of our big ideas through the Tiny Timber Crew series, which is what this book series is called, is the idea of you can't be what you can't see. And we want these young students to see kids in these books that look like them. We have two versions of the Tiny Timber Crew currently, and we are actually going to release a third book in Q1 of 2024. But our first title was Lucy Meets a Logger. And it was very important for me with this book to showcase a little girl learning about the forest industry and the logging sector, because that is what was able to really spark my interest and essentially grew my career in the forest industry, was being immersed in the forest and seeing working forests from such a young age. And so Lucy, little Miss Lucy, she was our first main character in the Tiny Timber Crew series. Our second edition of the Tiny Timber Crew series is Travis Visits a Tree Farm. So again, we wanted to show a student of a different race. We wanted to show students of different genders who are exploring these different sectors of our supply chain and learning about careers that they could potentially pursue one day when they do grow up. And it's so exciting to see these students in the classrooms, because at the end of the anytime I go and read the book, at the end of the a little reading, I'll ask them, I'll say, who wants to work with me one day? And they all raise their hands. And I'm like, that's great, because I'm going to need somebody to replace me, hopefully one day when I retire. And so that's been a really cool, not only educational effort, but also career promotion effort that we are able to offer a huge range of students. And then also another opportunity that we're really excited about is we are translating these books into Spanish as well. So these are going to be resources that are available to students who speak Spanish. On our career promotion branch, this is very heavily focused on job seekers. So this is our short-term approach to workforce development. This is helping everybody who is interested in a forestry career, helping them find a job that works for them in their local area, or if they want to move, or if they don't have training, or they do have training or a college degree. We say we have jobs for everybody. We are such an open industry. You know, we even tell people we have jobs for nurses and we have jobs for marketing professionals. And so we want everybody that wants to work in the forest industry, we want to offer them those opportunities. And then our training component obviously funnels from our career promotion component. So one of our main goals as Forest Workforce Training Institute is not only offering clear career pathways into the forest industry, but also offering training if it is not already available. So the idea behind our training component is the fact that we are not going to recreate community college programs. We are not looking to recreate programs that already exist elsewhere through apprenticeship training or any other type of training that already exists, but we want to fill the gaps as necessary. So some of the programs that we have created, the logging equipment operator training program is specifically in Alabama. That was to fill a need in the state of Alabama to train logging equipment operators. And then also another key purpose of Forestry Works is we believe that workforce development does not end once somebody is employed. So I know earlier we were talking a little bit about professional development and milestones in careers. We believe that workforce development, just as much as we need to focus on recruitment, we also need to focus on retention of these employees who we have recruited. And so offering safety training, continuing education classes, professional development where needed is a real goal of ours, because we want to offer sustainable careers for young people, and then also job seekers who are well into their careers that might want to switch into the forest industry. As I mentioned earlier, the beauty of the Forest Workforce Training Institute being a completely separate 501c3 nonprofit organization is our ability to expand these programs and these efforts that we are creating into various states and hopefully one day various countries. So since our inception in 2018, we have been able to expand Forestry Works programming to 7 different states. It started very heavily in the Southeast, as you can tell, but now we are expanding up north, and then also we are working with different partners out west to expand out west as well. So we are very excited to offer these programs as a base, and then state by state we are able to modify these programs to fit the needs of the forest industry in those particular states, because we realize that the forest industry in Alabama is very, very different than the forest industry in Minnesota or the forest industry in Oregon. And so we want this program to be beneficial. We don't want to just sell a product or push a product. We want these programs and these efforts to benefit the forest industry wherever it may exist. So we are very excited to continue to grow our programs. We are very excited to continue to grow our reach with these programs. And then also mainly, very selfishly for me, because this is my passion project, continue to show young students that you can be in the forest industry. No matter your ability, no matter your race, your gender, where you live, what language you speak, we want you in the forest industry, and there's a place for you, and you can be successful and have a meaningful career. So we are very excited about this program, and I would encourage you all, please visit our website and learn more about the program. If there's ever anything that we can do to help out with different workforce development efforts, we would love to hear about that. So, and now I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you.
Stephanie, thank you. I had goosebumps over here. You were speaking my language. I was getting excited.
Thank you.
So now we are going to entertain questions for Stephanie. If you would like to unmute your mic and ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so. Or you may put your questions in chat and I will read your question. Would anyone like to kick off?
I would. Stephanie, I really, really appreciated your presentation. Now I'm all excited about your programs. I just bought both your books that I can use in my schools. I volunteer teach math, science, and STEM at any elementary school that'll have me. So I just wanted to ask you, please, to commend you and ask you, please, to talk a little bit more about retention. I was the first Black female forester in the Forest Service, and that was, almost 50 years ago. And now there are only like 6 Black female foresters. So retention is clearly a problem there. And I don't know really how to change it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your support of our books. But yeah, retention is something that when we initially started our workforce programs, we never thought about retention. And then it started coming to our attention that, there are certain things within the industry and support that we can offer to people in order to feel like they belong in the industry. And so I definitely think that safety training obviously is a huge point of retention. You want to make sure your workers feel safe, and that's not only safe around big machines and stuff like that, but just also safe in the workplace. And also for employers to find resources for their employees that fit different needs. So obviously, I think the Women's Forest Congress is I've never been involved with this program, but I think it's so incredible to have this resource of women who can bounce ideas off of each other and feel that amount of support is really, really important. And so I think employers utilizing programs that already exist, because that's a big thing that we really, really harp on, is we don't want to recreate the wheel. We want to show employers programs that already exist in order to achieve their goals. And so being able to promote, the Women's Forest Congress to employers as a resource for their current employees. And then also just general promotion of, one thing that we noticed and we've been working very diligently on is you can't be what you can't see. And so in marketing efforts and in television ads and in company manuals, showing diversity in those areas has been a really, really, really big point that we have looked into. And I hope that y'all could kind of tell we've been working really diligently to make sure that at our photo shoots and our video shoots that we find these women who actually work in the forest industry in these different race groups and different ethnic groups, and really showcase the people who work in our industry that are, different.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I have two questions in one that I'm going to ask you. So you said you were expanding into the West. Which states have you reached out to? And is there anything those of us out West can do to help?
Yeah. So we have actually heard from some groups in Oregon and Washington both. Mainly the way that we expand our program is through state forestry organizations, whether that be a state forestry association, because normally they represent the interests of the industry, or it be the state forestry division in the government sector, they're normally very helpful because they also identify the needs of the industry. So if you work for a company who is a member of a state forestry association or has that communication with those entities, just speaking if you're a board member or if you're just a general member on an education committee or you have any access to them at all, just making them aware of these programs and that the industry is well receiving this program and the industry wants programs like this, that is very helpful in growing the expansion.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any in the chat. Would anyone like to unmute and ask a question?
Can I ask one more, please?
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't mean to take up all the time. That presentation really touched my heart, Stephanie, and really re-energized me for the work that I want to do with young people. I was very glad to hear that you work with both kids that are young people, young people, not kids, I guess, but who are entering college, working on degrees, helping them find their niche, their place, as well as the student who may graduate and want to go directly to work. I'm so glad you're working with both of those. How do you reach out to the student who wants to go directly to work? How do you make sure they know about your programs and opportunities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our biggest kind of avenue into contacting students who are in that 11th, 12th grade area that are getting ready to make those career decisions or college decisions is we work very closely with the agriculture teachers in our school systems. I know there might be some states who don't have agriculture programs in their schools, but there's always an opportunity through your STEM classes, especially the science classes, technology classes, to implement forestry curriculums. So by reaching those teachers and giving those teachers resources, training them to teach the forest worker curriculum, we are also able to build that relationship in order to connect those teachers with industries in their area. So I'll give a good example here in Alabama. We have a school over in West Alabama who the ag teacher was certified to teach the forest worker curriculum, and she wanted to make sure her students knew of the job opportunities available to them as soon as they graduate. So we then connected her with the Westervelt Company, which is a manufacturing company and a land owning company in West Alabama, and they had actually an HR representative go and visit the school and talk about entry-level career opportunities available to those students. And then the students are also taking, we do what we call forestry field days, and we will take those classes of students and work with the industry members to get them into the woods. We will get them into the manufacturing facilities and let them see the work being done, and then also interact with people who are doing that work in the jobs that they could potentially have one day.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Honestly, I just love you so much. We're going to be sisters. You just don't know it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other last questions?
We're working on something similar in Wisconsin. I'm with the Wisconsin Forestry Center at the University of Stevens Point. And my particular role is developing a high school curriculum. And you have a certificate program that goes with yours. How do you give that clout?
So the idea, I'll kind of tell you a little background, I'll be brief. In the state of Alabama, because in the past we have lacked very heavily in education for K through 12, they implemented some legislation back in like 2016 that in order for a student to graduate from a public high school institution, they have to have what they call a career readiness indicator. So a career readiness indicator can either be a SAT score or an ACT score that will allow them to be accepted into college, or they have to join the military, or they have to receive a credential for a technical program. So the forest worker curriculum is a credential to allow those students to acquire that credential and then graduate from high school using that. So that obviously gives us clout within the school system because, you know, the students need those, the teachers need those students to have the ability to graduate one way or the other. In the industry, one thing that we really made sure of is when we were creating our curriculum, we worked very closely with the industry. When it was being built in Alabama, industry members were the ones helping us write that curriculum. And then as we expand that curriculum program into our other states, currently we're expanding that into Tennessee's already established, North Carolina and Kentucky. We are making sure that the industry is involved in writing that curriculum. So that is really just a way that our industry has put a stamp on that curriculum saying, if a high school student comes to me and they have this credential in hand, this certificate in hand, we will be more likely to hire them because they have more working knowledge of what is happening here than just somebody off the street who has no working knowledge of what happens in a manufacturing facility or in a working forest. And so creating those relationships with the industry is really, really important. We also in Kentucky and in North Carolina, their program actually also, they are working with the university there. Their program will also serve as a credit for a college class coming out of high school. So they will have a forestry college class credit, like intro to forestry, coming out of high school that will help them lead into a college pathway.
And we have another question here in the chat. To help with retention, what is the industry status on paid paternal leave, and is it common?
So I'm not super familiar with paternity, maternity leave, those programs. We don't necessarily get involved with that side of the retention program because we do have to leave that up to on a company by company basis. I know it is also very different state to state, so I'm sorry I can't offer much help on that one.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah. Any last questions? Going once.
I have one more.
All right, Melody, we're going to close our question with you.
So sorry, I'm just on fire this afternoon. May we have some contact information for follow-up questions? Please, Stephanie, an email or something.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll type it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Stephanie, we truly want to thank you for being here today. And I was over here jotting down some notes on some things that really resonated. And so one of the things that I truly admire and love that you are doing is your pipeline approach, because as we know, we have to expose our young people as early as possible. And you are in that K through 12 pipeline. And so when we talk about recruitment, we can't talk about recruitment without retention. And it's so important for us to understand how that really works and what initiatives we have to have in place. And so we truly do appreciate you being here. And so can we give Stephanie one last round of applause before we move forward? Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. So our session is coming to an end, but the work of the Women's Forest Congress continues. It has been an honor and privilege to serve as your facilitator today, but I do have a call to action before we depart. As always, we like to wrap up our time together and hear from you. And so we have a word cloud that we would love for you to answer the following question. What's one thing you took away from today's event? And so you can hover over the it and get into the word cloud, and then it should populate, and then you should be able to put in the number. And once you put that number in, you should be able to put your response in there. Hover over the QR code, and you should be going to Slido and then putting in the number, and it should populate the question. Celebrate opportunities, enthusiasm, You can't be what you can't see. Inspiration. Competence and confidence. Forestry works. Community. Many folks are saying community. Connection. Vision, communication, us together. Support, ideas for workforce development. Be brave. Networking. Retention. Awesome. Involvement. More ways to be involved. Awesome. Keep them coming. So we're creating our calendar for 2024. So be on the lookout early next year for our quarterly virtual gatherings. We need your help to ensure we're able to host these upcoming events. So our call to action, we are actively seeking sponsorship. So if you or your organization would like to sponsor the Women's Forest Congress, please email us at info@womensforestcongress.org or reach out to any of the steering committee members directly. You can also get involved in moving the Women's Forest Congress and the Declaration forward within your own organizations and networks. We are grateful for those taking steps to share information in their local communities and networks. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on social media and join our LinkedIn networking group. As we adjourn today, I want to leave you with a quote. Success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives by Michelle Obama. As we close today, I challenge you to foster workforce opportunities for all women through mentorship programs, professional development, and scholarships with a particular focus on reaching out to those who need your help or are asking for assistance in any part of their journey. Sometimes people may not ask for help, but it's always great to just ask someone how they are doing. You can always share a professional development opportunities such as training and development, mentorship, and leaning in to the needs of the women you are serving. I want to wish you a happy holiday and a happy new year. And until next time, have a phenomenal week. Thank you.